So I updated like the code base with the files. I think there's still some errors, so I can kind of show that to you guys right now. We should probably contact like just the old group just to ask them about like some extra calculations, and hopefully we can like finish by the end of like maybe this week or the next week.
What sort of errors is it?
It's just like the graphs. Like David calculated like the divisor values, but when we were like replacing, we like kind of went through the entire code base and like did grabbed all the files from like for 2025. Like it just makes the index kind of the index value is off, and then we have something else where it's like for the reconstitution check, we tried like running it, but we couldn't replace the files for that.
So when you it should be valuing, so the day before you do the rebalance, right? You should be coming up with a market cap value of
Hmm.
the current portfolio, right? Then
Yes.
then you update it and have a different market cap value, the total portfolio, right? If you don't, then the divisor should just make those two, should equalize those two values.
Hmm.
So conceptually, that's what you're trying to do. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought it was built into the code because last year I don't think they had this issue.
It's possible, but like looking at the part, I can show it to you. I'll screen share in a second. But looking at the part that, hold on, I'm just gonna go back to home.
But you get so when you rank the current constituents, and then when you get the new constituents, is there a lot of turnover?
That's what we were trying to do because like part of here, or
Yeah,
what
I
was it?
can't help you with the code, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's okay. Like here, the index values, it's like we were comparing it to what's on the PA 100 index. And like, despite we tried originally like replacing the files, and then we were like, that's not correct. So we kept on using the old files and then just updating like a lot of like the reconstitute where's rundaily.py, which over here, I think it's automating the process of like the calculations because it's taking like the mark cap, calculating the equity float, and then yeah, this part is where we put in all the like 2025 files, and then
So,
we
so just conceptually, the 100 stocks that are in the old basket, right? The old index.
Mhm.
How many, how much change is there from that to the new? Is that where the problem is? That all of a sudden the new one is dramatically different?
I can take a look right now. David, do you know the answer to that possibly?
I
Or
don't know how many exactly, but I'm just gonna compare the files. I'm just trying to find the files right now.
Yeah, because
okay.
there shouldn't.
I know it. There's not a whole lot of change,
Yeah, there
honestly.
shouldn't be, right? There really shouldn't be too much change. There'll be some, and it would be at the bottom, right? It would be at the smaller companies, not the bigger
Hmm.
companies. Because it's
Yeah,
not like there's a lot of new companies, unless there's a data error in what companies are being viewed as domiciled in Pennsylvania.
a
Right?
lot
Because
of the
that's
lo-
your
I mean,
first step, right? Is the universe of companies that are domiciled in Pennsylvania.
yeah, a lot of the large tech companies and the larger companies at the top of the index, I think, stayed almost pretty much the same.
Yeah,
Like it's just the smaller cap companies
yeah.
towards the bottom that had the
So so
majority of change.
so with the smaller companies, it shouldn't create that much of a difference, just because there's number one, they're a smaller part of the index, and the index is so weighted to those, top five companies. Forget what the concentration was, but the top five companies accounted for a significant part of the index. But conceptually, you understand the steps, right? So it's kind of value T minus one or the prior day, the basket, reconstitute the new 100 stocks, and then use the divisor to adjust it before you pull in new prices on the next day.
Hmm. So when we were doing the reconstitution, is the current like how we're accessing the CBOE data is we're getting like the daily
You
kind
need to use the same data that you're doing. So everything has to be priced the same day. So if you
okay.
do the
Yeah.
reconstitution, say as of today, So using closing prices of the 26th, you would value the old basket on the 26th, and then you have to value the new basket on the 26th before you pull in new prices for Monday.
Okay, I see.
You
Because right now,
understand, right? Because that's the only way you can make sure that the two baskets can be equalized with the divisor.
okay. Because we were trying to, I know we were running into some errors of just getting the SIVO data from like that exact day, because we can pull from today and like every current day, but we're still like struggling from getting the day of
Yeah,
June
so in theory, this is why you have to do this. You set a date to do it.
30th.
At this stage, you just need to pick a date and do all the steps at the same time, because otherwise you might be getting a mismatch because you're trying to use old data. Um, so again, the rules of the methodology stated that this was supposed to be done whenever it was, July or whatever the date was. As long as everything is done on the same day, that's the critical, right? So that the old index value and the new index value are using prices from the same day.
Hmm. I see.
Um, because otherwise you're distorting the multiplier, right? Because you're trying to just isolate, the multiplier is just trying to isolate the differences due to change in shares and change in constituents. You don't want it to have any impact in change in price. So by doing everything as of one day, the only differences could be either new constituents and or new share counts, right? To give you new market value, because a lot of the companies will have new shares outstanding. That's why
Hmm.
everything has to be done on the same day. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah, that
Yeah,
makes sense. And then, I mean, we're as Al said, we're kind of pretty close, and we'll definitely be. We kind of were thinking about, moving on to something new. I know we have a presentation in November about this, well, which we should be able to kind of go into a lot of detail about.
Yeah. The problem is we're losing. This is kind of the critical first step so that you can do something more interesting. We need to get this done, right? And get the new universe into the system. And then we can look to build some new indices, which will be a more interesting part of the project.
Mhm.
This is kind of, like I said, I thought, and if you can get somebody from last year's team to help out, because I thought they had automated a lot of this last year. They didn't have any issues when they did the reconstitution. They did it right when it was supposed to be, and they're able to pull in all the data. And I don't know how many manual steps they had to do versus automated steps. That's what you need to, if you find somebody from last year's team.
Yeah, I
yeah,
know an issue we ran into was a lot of the code written by, like the owners of this universe. It was not, like Alice, it was not working. It was like kind of what we decided on.
Yeah. Once you get this rebalanced, this is, like I said, then you can go from there. We can do other things that'll be more interesting. This is just kind of a basic first step that we need to get done,
I see.
right?
Um,
Because once you get this, then all of a sudden, all the stocks in your database are now, you should have all new constituent, you have not quite 3,000 new stocks that you can work from to build something new. Because but this is kind of a critical
I think
step.
so. I think we definitely.
You should be pulled in, right? So like now your new universe is all the new stocks that came in as of June, right? The
Mhm.
3,000 new stock, where it's 20, whatever it is, 2,700 new stocks. Um, that's your universe, right? That universe is what changed in June. The only thing that changed in June was the universe and the share count and of course price. Those are the three variables. Um, but that's what you then can use to build something new going forward. But we just need to make sure we get the old index rolled over, reconstituted properly.
Awesome. And I'm sure like JR can help me with that a little bit because that's something that we'll try to get done by this week. For the divisor, I just have a question for David. Do you
Yeah.
know uh, do you know if the value that you got was like 120.34?
The divisor number, it's like a very big number. It's
It shouldn't be. You should have the divisor, the old divisor you should know, right? Because that was in the code from last year. It
I think
should
it's
be,
automated.
yeah, but the divisor shouldn't, the only time the divisor should change is when there are changes to the index.
Mhm.
And so prior to June, there shouldn't have been, unless there was a stock that kicked out and there was some filters built or buffers built around the divisor. So it had to be a pretty big change to make a difference to create a new divisor. But the divisor is constant.
Okay.
The divisor is constant until there's a change. And if there's no change, the divisor stays the same every day.
okay. So going back to something that Alice mentioned earlier, we aren't able to pull the market close data from a certain day in the past. So what I did for the new divisor was I used the Bloomberg data instead of the SIBO data, but I noticed that the numbers are slightly off for the days that we do have by like,
That could be so different pricing sources can have slightly different closing prices because the SIBO data pulls the closing prices on their exchange. And I think Bloomberg pulls it from a composite price, which is all the exchanges. So, but that variation for any one stock should be pennies.
yeah,
But it could be, over, 100 stocks, it could make some difference, but that's typically not a big difference. But yeah, you could have some pricing differences because Bloomberg will use a different closing price than SIBO.
got it.
So 1.083 times 10 to the 12, that's our value.
No, it's on the right side. It's like the 8964.
It should be a decimal, right? It should be because the divisor started at 1 when the index was created. So it should be either slightly above or slightly below 1.
All right.
I mean, you can see the divisor can you see the divisor from last year?
Well, look, we can look for it.
Yeah, I mean, that should have been constant. I don't know if there would have been anything that caused it to have changed last year, but certainly in the weeks leading up to June, the divisor would have been fixed. Right, like I said, the only reason the divisor changes is if a company goes in or out, or there's anything that changes the market value of the index of a company, right? So if there's a company that is deleted from the index for whatever reason, which I don't think would have happened, then that would cause a divisor change. We don't pull in new shares, which is another thing that can cause a divisor change because we keep the share count constant for the year. We only update it once a year. So we tried to minimize the number of changes. So the divisor should have been the same throughout the year or pretty close to it.
5.8.5 times 10 to the 9th power.
8.5. That seems like a big number.
All right. Can I share my screen? I'm gonna show like how I got the divisor. Is it sharing?
Mm-mm.
Can't see anything.
Oh, here we go. All right. So I got all the ticker,
Yeah,
closing price, current shares, market cap, all this data from Bloomberg.
right.
I did market values,
Yeah.
price
Shares
time,
outstanding.
shares LF. So that's how I get the market value for each ticker. And then
Yep.
and then I summed it up
Yep.
to get this number.
Right. So that's the market cap of the index.
Yep. And this is on 6/30. So this is the
Right.
Monday after the first day of the
Okay.
new universe.
So if you did the same exercise at Friday, because we're pulling in closing
Yeah,
prices,
I
right?
did it for Friday as well.
Yeah. So the Friday, whatever that was, like 20, would that be like the 28th or something like that?
27. Yep.
27. So
Yep.
if you compare those two numbers, The divisor should equalize them.
Yeah, they're pretty close. They're only a tenth or a hundredth off. But
Wait,
what I did was,
this is before this is before the changes, right?
this is before, and then the 630 is after.
After the changes. Okay.
But what I did was, I think, so I took that number, the after, the total market cap divided by 120, which is the index price to get, what did I get for that? To get this number. Does that make sense?
So the
That's the PA 100 like
index
index for
value.
the day.
Okay.
Index value to get 8 million, 89 million. And then I took that number, divided by the Friday close to get 120. Oh, the divisor is 120, right? No, it was one.
Divisor.
No, that was
So,
just the
so,
check.
so when you get, so if you think of it in the T minus one or the 27th close value of the index, right?
Mhm.
And then you have the 630 value of the index. The
Yeah.
divisor should make those two, equalize those two, and you apply the divisor to the whole index value. So if 627, if that value, base value is 100, and the 630 value before you apply the divisor is, call it 101, the divisor will make that 101 equal to 100, right? So it would reduce everything by 1% at the aggregate level of the index. So that your index value, which is the same as your market value of all the stocks, would be the same 627 close and then 630 close before you pull in the new prices. Because once you pull in new prices, you've already adjusted it, right? You've got a new factor coming in. So when you take the 627 value of the index,
Mhm.
so actually, you take the 627, if you're doing it to 627 value, right? You value the old index at 627, you revalue the new index as of 627. Maybe that's one of the problems you're having. Right, so you use the prices of 627 plus the new constituents and the new share counts to come
Okay.
up with the new market value of the whole index for 627.
Don't I have
Before you
that already here? This is like the sum of all
yes,
the market.
yeah.
Okay.
So do everything, you have to do everything as of the same day before you pull in new prices. When you're pulling in the 630 prices, that's of the new index, right?
This is the 627.
627, right? So
Yep.
627, you have shares times price, right?
Mhm.
Equals the market value of each company summed up,
Mhm.
right? That's your market value of the whole index on 627. Then you adjust the new constituents. So you
Adjust.
have new constituents, new shares, but price stays the same as of 627.
Wait, what do you mean by they stay the same?
Because okay, so you start out with the hundred companies as of 627, the old 100 companies.
Yep.
Like you've calculated the index value for that. Then bring in the new companies. Then do the same exercise but with the new companies and the new share counts.
Mhm.
That's step two. So now you have a new 100 companies, which should be pretty much the same. Again, a few small changes. The shares will change. The shares outstanding will change because you're carrying shares outstanding from June of 24, and now you're updating them to June of 25. And price stays the same. Price of each company stays the same. That's your new index.
So I want to use the price data from the 27th. But keep the new shares.
The new share, the comparison, right, between call it old index and new index to calculate the divisor is take the old shares, old constituents, and the price on the 27th, sum all that up, put that aside, right? That's your old index as of the close on the 27th.
Hmm.
Then calculate the new index, the new 100 constituents, new companies, times the new shares outstanding for all of those 100 companies, because now the shares outstanding have changed. And you're still using the prices as of the 27th close.
Okay.
Those two, old index, new index, are what you use to calculate the divisor. Because one of them will give you a value of, call it 100, and the next one, the new one, will give you a value of, call it 102. Right? It's more, right? Because you're using total market cap, but I'm just using it as an example. And then the divisor will equalize the 100 so that 100 and 102 equal each other. So basically the divisor would apply to the new index to reduce everything by approximately 2%. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But
What
everything has
about
to be done
what
as
about
of
the
the 20.
companies what about the new companies?
So the new company, so the first bucket you do with the old companies, then you go through the same exercise, but with the new companies and new share counts. So shares will change for everybody. Plus, you'll also have a few new stocks. So you've taken out a few stocks and brought in a few new stocks. Once you have those two, you sum up the value of those two baskets and then use the divisor to equalize them.
Okay. So use the old prices for the stuff that's being carried over, but for the new companies that are being added in.
New companies use it for the first step. You do everything as of the closing price on the 27th first.
Mhm.
You have to do that. So you have to calculate the divisor as of the closing price on the 27th.
So even for the new added in companies, we're
Yes.
using
Yes.
the numbers from the 27th.
Yes.
Got it.
The only thing that'll be different,
Is the share
the
count.
second, is the share count and then new companies too.
Yes.
So you'll get two buckets, right? The old index and the new index, but they're all using prices as of the 27th close. The share counts will be different between the two buckets, and the constituents, the stocks will be slightly different. You sum up those two buckets, and then the divisor will equalize the value. It's your fudge factor to equalize the value. Everything done as of the 27th price. Now, you don't have to use the 27th. You can use today, but whatever it is, it's all done on the same day. After you've done that, because the changes in the index take effect the morning of the 30th. So when the index is calculated on the 30th, it's pulling in new prices, but it's all the changes are effective as of the close on the 27th. And then the 30th is your new first day of the new index price. Any change in the value, that's just change in price at that point, because everything else is fixed. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So
the new
everything has to be done
prices-
as of the 27th date first. Because the way the index rules and this happens with every index, changes take effect as of the close on a particular day. So the first new index value is the next day's new prices that are starting to come in.
Okay. One question. So for the new companies being added in, if they're not in the old index, wait.
So you use so call it old index and then a new index. So for the new index, you have 100 new companies, most of which are the same. You have new shares for probably everybody. And you use the same prices as of the 27th. You sum that up. You compare the new index versus the old index. Come up with your divisor. That's your base level now to go forward. So then on the 30th, when you pull in new prices on the 30th, the only thing the only variable at that point is just price. Because everything you've already made all your changes at that point. I know it's a little confusing, but they have to you have to have a point in time when you make these changes, right? And so that's why they do it at the close.
Yep.
Because that's how you can replicate. So if you're trading this index, you would know ahead of time what companies are going to be added as of the 27th close. You do all of your trading as of the close so that when you wake up Monday morning, you have your new portfolios based on the trades that you did Friday's close. As an aside, if you look at the volume of these companies on the actual rebalance date, you'll see huge volumes because there's all the portfolios, any index, they all have to rebalance as of the close of that day. And it's a huge trade on Wall Street every year. So again, everything gets done as of the 27th first. Old index, new index, calculate the new divisor. And then at that point, that divisor shouldn't change going forward. The only reason that divisor would change going forward is if some companies came out of the index. There's only a few things that will cause a divisor to change. Importantly, price is not one of them. So for example, if there's a stock split, that would you would have to change the shares outstanding because the price would drop on a day and the shares would double. You know how a stock split works? You double the number of shares, but the price drops in half. That would change your market value of your portfolio if you didn't do both. So if you're carrying old market value, old shares outstanding, you have to make that sort of adjustment. That actually would not change the divisor, but it's a flag if there was that change. That's right, because that wouldn't change the market value of a company. But there should be there are tests built into the code, I thought, that would flag if there needs to be a divisor change. And like I said, the way we built this, there shouldn't be really much of a divisor change. I think if you go back in last year's code, you looked at the daily divisor, it probably never changed throughout the year. So the new divisor shouldn't be that different from the last one. There'll be some, but not drastically different. That makes sense now?
Yeah.
And again, and the reason we have to do this, so that when you publish the index on the 27th, and then publish the new index on the 30th, if you didn't use a divisor, you would get a jump in the index value that's not caused by price. And so the divisor is just a mechanism to just reflect price changes, not to reflect changes because of new constituents. Think you have it now?
Yep.
Like I said, you did it as the 27th was an arbitrary date. You could do it as of today. It doesn't matter. If you compare it to Bloomberg, you will get a little bit of difference, both in shares and in price, because different firms calculate it differently. It's possible. I wouldn't worry too much about that. That's going to be relatively small. Where do you pull your shares outstanding? Do you get that from using Bloomberg shares, or I forget what the resource?
Yeah, Bloomberg.
Okay, so that'll be the same. Yeah. But their price will be, like I said, their stock price could be a little bit different than SIBO's stock price. At each company level, it shouldn't make a difference at the index level. And the reason is they're just different sources. They're, one will close at 22.2, The other one closed at 22.3. So you could have little variations.
I think we have it. I think we should. I think we go. We'll be
I
able
get
to
it now. Once we get past this, and then we can do more interesting things.
All right.
This is
it
an
sounds-
important. It's an important concept because this is what drives trading, right? And so what people do in the real world, and there's a lot of traders that do this, they anticipate these changes. So if you know that the index is going to rebalance as of the close of the 27th, people will trade ahead of that and buy the stocks that are going to be added and thinking that they can buy them and sell them at a higher price. And that happens all the time. You hear about the inclusion effect. So companies being added to an index go up in value when they're added to the index.
Mhm.
There's all sorts of academic studies about that. If you get added to the S&P 500, the price goes up because all these people have to buy that stock. In reality, when you see that price reflected is usually when it's announced in anticipation of it being added to the index. But people trade around that all the time. And there's a lot of money that huge trades that take place around this.
Thank you, guys. We have the next team coming in.
Yep. Sorry, but all right. If you have any questions, please call me.
Hey, Ashutosh, are you involved in this project? Ashutosh? Okay.
Yes, Professor.
Are you?
I'm currently working with the Alice. So the guys yesterday, I was not able to make it yesterday, but the guys, like I'm in touch with everyone, and we are currently working in the methodology right now. I'm working on the methodology. I'm helping the Alice to do that.
Thanks. Mark, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alex.
All right. All right. Bye now.
Thank you.
Hey, Bogdan.
Hey guys, hey
Welcome.
Rish, hey Caleb. Okay guys, so I think we can start. Actually, it was very interesting part about S&P 500 and what Alex has mentioned. It was really interesting. I'm glad that you have in your university you have such experience that you communicating with different trading directions, with different hedge funds and different trading firms. Patrick, I think this is absolutely great job. It's very great that you have such practical experience. That's amazing. Quick update from my side. Previous week we finished engine for AML investigations and pattern analysis. And right now we are on the stage of testing it. And I think very soon we will prepare the tasks for the next project about pattern analysis and about investigation.